for the first time since the Vice President Joe Biden's controversial comments. Here's what he had to say.
What Joe Biden was talking about, again, is an example of a substantive argument, a substantive issue that the American people should be concerned about, and his phrasing is a distraction from what is at stake.
According to the president, what Mr. Biden meant to say is that Americans would be worse off if Republicans succeeded in doing away with new restraints on banking and financial institutions on Wall Street. Here's the original comment from Joe Biden.
Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Mixed response, as you can hear, to that in the crowd. Governor Romney says that the remark is just another desperate line of attack, he believes, from the Obama campaign. I'm joined now by Deroy Murdock, syndicated columnist and Fox News contributor. Good morning, Deroy. Good to have you here this morning.
Good morning, Martha. How are you?
I'm fine. Just what are your thoughts? What do you think about all this?
I was very disturbed and very disappointed to hear this comment by Joe Biden. You see this sort of thing happen where these folks go down south, suddenly they break into the southern accent, which comes out of nowhere. A guy from Delaware suddenly sounds as if he were from south of the Mason-Dixon line. And this is just another effort to try to gin up the black vote. I think it's race baiting, and it's part of an ongoing pattern of very obnoxious and very hateful things we're hearing from the left. And I really wish that President Obama would stand up, the man who talked about bringing us all together, not living in red states and blue states, but red, white, and blue states, and put an end to this. I think he ought to scold Joe Biden in the private lunch they're going to have today. And he ought to give a speech, I think, as early as this afternoon, and call on his supporters to stop talking about these sort of racial matters, talking about Jim Crow being brought back if we have voter ID cards, talking about, as Nancy Pelosi said, that the Republicans are the E. coli crowd, talking about Paul Ryan not doing something that Democrats would like on Medicare, but literally killing an old lady by throwing her off of a cliff. We've got President Obama's supporters and even Michelle Obama saying if you vote for the Republicans, people will get cancer. I mean, this is extremely divisive, it's extremely obnoxious, and not bringing us together, which is what Senator Obama promised when he ran 4 years ago.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting when you listen to the dialogue and you ask yourself about how people feel about these issues of race in this country right now. And it is the president basically is saying, look, his phrase was a distraction to his point. And his point was that if you elect Mitt Romney, you're going to have, it'll be unleashed on Wall Street. The regulations that he believes need to be in place won't be there anymore. Do you believe that Joe Biden, went off script here, that he said something, sort of off the cuff that was interpreted incorrectly? Or do you think that he was trying to appeal to that crowd in a way that, that dealt with race, that catered to them in that way?
I think the latter. If he wanted to talk about banking reform, he should have talked about banking reform. I don't think anybody's ever said that the banks held Americans in chains, especially when back in 2008 when we had the meltdown, the issue was the banks were probably lending too much money to people who couldn't pay back their loans. And so instead he stood in front of this group in Danville, Virginia, in the South, a predominantly black audience, and said that the Romney and company are going to put y'all back in chains. This means one thing, which is returning to slavery. And you could disagree with Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan on taxes. You could disagree with them on Medicare. But the idea that the Republicans are going to bring back slavery is obnoxious, stupid, false. And again, it's the kind of rhetoric we hear from the Democrats every 4 years, where they try to frighten black people, try to gin up the
it's
black
really
turnout.
talking. It talks down to people.
Of
it's
course
an insult to intelligence if you interpret it the way that you're interpreting it. Is that right?
Well, of course, it condescends to black people, condescends to everybody. I mean, does Joe Biden really think black folks are so stupid that we're going to believe we're going to go back to the plantations and go back to slavery? But even bringing up that sort of thing is completely inappropriate. It's far beneath the office of the vice presidency and beneath the kind of politics we ought to be having in this country in 2012, well after Jim Crow ended, well after the Civil War ended. And shame on Joe Biden for bringing up this kind of rhetoric. And again, I think President Obama should call him on the carpet and tell the supporters to drop it. Let's focus on the issues, talk about this terrible economy and how we're going to get out of this mess, and stop the discussions about slavery and E. coli and people giving each other cancer and the sorts of things we've heard out of the Democratic left over the last few months and even before that.
Interesting. Thank you very much for your opinion this morning. Deroy Murdock.
Thank you.
Good to see you this morning.